Hello, and welcome to another impromptu live stream. We're going to have sort of a short one today because I want to cover a topic that one of my students asked me about and that is very appropriate for the season, right? The horse-winny from Sleigh Ride. And then I want to talk about something a little more serious, which is just trying to keep things working on really difficult passages. And so we'll play some hard etudes too from the Harris book. So how do you do the horse-winny? Well, I think there are probably lots of ways. I'll show you how I do the horse-winny when it comes up for me. I've done it a few times. You can actually find a recording of me doing it. There's the second commercial recording I ever did, and it's the only thing I do on this recording. There is a recording of Jelani Eddington playing the San Filippo Wurlitzer Theater organ in Barrington, Illinois. And as a gig that I got in college through the band director at DePaul, they wanted to record a bunch of Leroy Anderson works on this theater organ, and there were three sounds that the theater organ could not make. One was the sleigh bells, one was the clip clops, the wood blocks, and the other was maybe the whip crack too, actually. And then the other was, of course, the horse-winny. So what we had to do for that is I stood there and listened to the theater organ play itself because the guy had already recorded it into the MIDI bank. And so it was a real human playing, but just not at this moment. But we had to sit and listen to the organ do it, which was actually cool. And then at the end, I just had to... And that was... I had to just get it every 3.5 minutes or so, or whatever, however long the tune takes. So how do you do it? Well, you'll notice half valve is part of it, right? You're not going to put your valves all the way down, right? You don't want that sound. You want part, and I focus on the first two, the third and the second valve, right? The first that the air is going to contact, because that gives me a bunch of pressure, right? And you're going to just kind of do, like, as if you were doing a normal high-range exercise, just slurring upward, right? Like that, except you're doing it on the half valve. And so the partials are sort of in funny places. They're still there, and in fact, we want to know where they are because that's part of the magic here is if you can play right in between two of the partials, like, in other words, right on the gap, then that's where you get the whinny kind of sound, right? Now, it doesn't really sound like a horse, but that's a whole other... Right? You're playing within a slot and then off the edge of the slot. So when I do it slow, it doesn't sound like anything. But you have to be comfortable with high range because it has to be sort of high. You have to have some room, right? You have to ramp up into it, and then you have to have some room to come down. And then I'm using my jaw to sort of do ta ya 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 ya, and then I'm changing the overall tongue position and airspeed so that it goes down a little bit. So you can practice it if you want. I don't usually use the first valve at all because as you just heard probably, it cuts off a lot of the volume, and in the orchestra at least, you really want this to be loud. I guess you could try one. It sounds a little more trumpety, and that might be something that that orchestras want. They might not want it to sound too much like a horse. They might want it to sound like the normal... I'm just closing my browser. My computer sounds like it's taken off. But, so anyway, that's all there is to it. And then you just have to practice doing it. You don't want to be too spread open. You want to make sure you have control. And you also don't want to hurt yourself. There is a really great video of a colleague of mine on Facebook who he says he got a compliment from a really major pops conductor. He doesn't say who it was. And it is really a good, I mean, it's a perfect horse-winny. And he does a lot of physical manipulation with the horn. And that's fine too, as long as you're protected. You have to create this muscular pad here, right? If it's just loose, then you're going to hurt yourself for sure. But You want... Right, like that. Oh, there's a fire truck going by. Right, and if you don't want to practice this too much without sort of supervising yourself, making sure that you're kind of doing a lip check, but that's also fine. I don't do it that way because I am liable to hurt myself under the gun, under the pressure of like, do this now perfectly, I should say, right? So one last time, I'll do my best horse-winny. And it doesn't have to last very long, right? All right, so there you go. I did it on C trumpet because a lot of times that's what you play in the orchestra, right? And I would say orchestras do this, well, just as much as bands. You can do it on the B flat trumpet too. It's the same story, right? But you do want to have a pretty good high range because the half valve helps. So that way you can start up high and sort of come down low, and it's more audible there. Okay, so that's my best guess at what might help. I didn't pull up my chat, unfortunately, so if anybody has said anything in the chat, my student that asked me to do, or former student that asked me to do this, I haven't seen it. So if you did type it in the chat, please type it again, because now I have the chat pulled up, and I will actually maybe be able to see it. All right, so now we're going to move on to some Harris Etude. This is Harris number 32. And I've been practicing this on my French bassin in B flat. I suppose we could do it in A if we really wanted to hurt ourselves. But here's my goal, all right? Now this is a very up and down string etudes. The Harris book is almost all violin etudes. I don't know which one this is out of which book. It could be a Gavinier or something. Maybe Bach, but I don't know it if it is. But let me play some of it for you, and let me show you what. So I'm not going to do anything to adjust. The goal of this part of the live stream is to sort of demonstrate, like, okay, what do you use strength for, right? Because we talk about it a lot, wanting to be strong trumpet players, but what is it actually good for, right? Some people will say high range, and you do need a certain amount to be able to play in the extreme high register, I think, but maybe not used like you think it will be, right? I've been chatting a little bit with Tom Hooten about this subject on the phone, and just really, he has a lot of amazing insights, and he's talked to a lot of people about how things work, and so yeah, sometimes you think like, oh yeah, I got to be strong so I can hold it together, but actually, maybe times that you thought you were going to hold it together, you're actually holding it apart, right? So there's a lot to it. There's a lot of that kind of stuff in the trumpet world where you have to throw out your preconceived ideas and embrace something that's maybe initially counterintuitive, right? So one of those is what strength is used for. You might say, well, strength is used to get around, right? Well, not really. You can do it that way, right? I just did, but it gets all kinds of weird results. I get double buzz in the high register. I get this kind of flabby tone in the low register. I don't have control of the intonation, right? So I wouldn't do that, but it is a way that a lot of people start, and that's okay. But we want to very quickly move towards being in total control of the air that does all the work, essentially, right? So then what do we use strength for still? Do we even need it? And I think some people would even argue not really, but I think that there's some merit to that up to a certain point. But if you really want to go beyond that, then I think strength is probably a bigger component that we need to be using more of the time. For instance, in the low register, right? If I just let go, I can get the notes, but I don't have any control over them, right? I can't change the color. I can't even change the intonation. I'm just lucky to get it. But if I use some strength to place it, I have control, and I control the color. I can control the intonation. I can even kind of control the articulation, or the way that it comes out, right? So that's the kind of strength we're talking about, and what not just to pick notes off, but to actually just maintain the same production no matter what. There's a really great book that you should read called The Pitcher's Bible by Nolan Ryan. If you don't know who Nolan Ryan is, you got to check him out. Just an amazing pitcher, and I think he pitched a no-hitter. I might be wrong on this. Don't at me in the chat, or do, I guess. But I think he pitched a no-hitter when he was like 51 years old or something, which is just incredible. And he was still throwing 98-mile-per-hour fastballs. And he talks about strength. The pitchers they didn't want pitchers to weight train their upper body because they were afraid that as they gained muscle that it would slow them down. It would make them less flexible. And they knew that the physics of throwing a baseball was all about sort of the technique. That's how you could throw really fast. And so they didn't want them to get muscle bound and reduce that radius, right? But actually, what Nolan Ryan found after doing some strength training anyway, he sort of intuited that like it would help him somehow. And so he did it anyway in secret. And I'm giving away the whole book, but you should buy it. It's really cheap anyway. It's a paperback. And he found that by doing strength training, it allowed him to throw more pitches consistently, but not any harder and not any less hard either. He just could throw the same pitches for longer. And that's why he could throw into deep innings, right? He always threw past the 7th inning and didn't need a reliever most of his career. I'm sure he never needed a reliever, but it's better to have one sometimes. But yeah, he threw the hardest fastball for the most innings, and he would get into the hundreds of pitches, or over 100 pitches before they even thought about taking him out. Nowadays, sometimes get 70 pitches on their arm, and they go, okay, that's enough for this guy. But anyway, so strength was helping him keep himself aligned, not get anywhere that he couldn't get before, right? It was just keeping him where the best throw was. And that's what we're doing on the trumpet. So my French Besson, the reason I get this out is because it punishes you for getting out of alignment, right? I'll show you. I'll stop talking and show you. So this time I'm just going to be as relaxed as possible. I'm not going to control anything, and hopefully you'll still get an okay result, but you'll hear different colors, different intonations, and some of that I still won't be able to control later, but we'll see how it sounds first. Just sort of a relaxed approach with as little muscle involvement as possible. So not bad. I didn't think anything sounded terrible, but I didn't maintain the same sort of amount of work the whole time I played through that. I played with different amounts of work, and I didn't intentionally go out of my way to make it bad or anything. So I did a little bit of what I've been practicing all day because I couldn't help it, right? That's what practice is for. But I did sort of I didn't do my experiment here quite the justice to make it really different. Let's see if I can. I'll play a little bit and really exaggerate it. Right, where I really am not focused here. So what if I play that same passage again, same amount, which is quite a bit, right? It's the last half of the last page of this etude. Being a little more muscular in the first place and just kind of trying to hold things still, not still from vibration, but hold them in the same place, right? So that it doesn't get pushed around. If I play a high C, I want all those to respond in the same spot. I don't want my aperture to get pushed open or closed. I don't want my aperture to get pushed left or right or up and down. I often will drag my mouthpiece a little bit and I'm trying not to do that either. So just a little more muscular focus should help me be able to play the same way the whole time. Okay? Let's try it. So I screwed up some spots that I shouldn't have. You can tell that I've practiced this Etude backwards because the ending feels really comfortable to me. And I still don't hear this A flat in the next to last line. I missed it both times, and it was an ear mistake, or just a hearing mistake. It wasn't like I played the wrong note, I just didn't hear it right. So that's not helping me either, right? But you can hopefully you can hear the difference a little bit. Now this is harder for me because it's a little bit more involved, but it keeps things in line better. And like I said, the horn punishes me if I don't do it. And what's really bad is something in between, where I have a little muscle involvement, a little more than the first time I played, but not enough to actually keep things in line. And then I'm just using muscle sort of sporadically. I'll do a part that I know less that has bigger... I'm still learning this Etude, but I thought it was appropriate for this. The top of the second page. This is page 50 on the Harris book, if you have it. Oops. You see what I mean? Where I'm getting weird, inconsistent results. Now, some of that is just down to me not knowing it as well. But a lot of it, you can hear like the trumpet doesn't respond the same, even if my ear hears the right note. Okay, now, if I add back what I was missing, right? I have to sort of think about it. I did it again. See what I mean? It's so much better aligned, and I'm not really afraid of missing a note. I am going to mark those B flats, though. I can't believe I missed those twice. That's awful. That I haven't marked it already is what's awful, not that I missed notes. That's fine. I miss notes all the time. But I don't like to miss them twice. So that is a B flat, and so is that. Okay, now they're in there. It's because there's an E natural in there. It just looks, you know, like, why would I have B flat and E natural in the same bar? Well, because it's F major, but, you know, it's not in F major, so it's weird. Okay, so now why the French Besson punishes me, right? Now watch what happens when I go back to a real B flat. I shouldn't say that because it's real too, but a normal Yamaha, right? That and this is part of what I sort of want to talk about with the French Besson all the time, is that those old horns were made really, really well. I can't play in tune on it because I don't have any more slide length to play like D flats, right? So I can't do everything on it the way I'd like to do. But it teaches me how to stay in that center position. And our modern horns have been designed not just to be better trumpets than the previous generation each time we sort of upgrade, but they've also been designed around some of our flaws, right? Some of the things that we do and we want to get away with them more. That is also part of modern trumpet design, right? As long as it is far-reaching enough for most people to want it. And you can find that as the sole design principle in some companies. That's not so much Yamaha's thing, but other companies, their whole design is around sort of enabling people to get away with some of the things that they don't want to address, and that's totally cool with me. I mean, as long as whatever people want, but I want the total control, right? That the Besson forces me to have, and then when I put it on a modern horn, well, if I make a mistake, if I make a misstep, that's okay, because the horn will probably be built in such a way to let me get away with it a little bit. So, same passage, new trumpet. Who dis? So you can hear I'm fighting this horn a little bit because it's bigger, but once I can find how to fill it back up without just blowing open again, then it's working really well, right? Let me try the passage we had from before that I know actually pretty well. And I guess I can be doing this a little more too. So I get a little bit of random results there because I'm just not set up into this horn anymore. I played the Besson all day. But you can hear mostly that's better than the worse versions on the Besson. And sometimes I would prefer a smaller bore trumpet for a lot of the things that I play. And the Besson is great, except that I just can't play it in tune in any key but B or C. Well, and that's another thing we could do, I guess, is put it in B and transpose, or put it in C and transpose, or not transpose, and play the same stuff. But I already did that earlier today, and it actually works really well in those keys because I have a little bit of slide length that I can actually use. But anyway, so I did actually do it. My former student, Josh, is in the chat, and I don't know if it was a joke or not, but it was timely, I thought. So I just thought I'd do it anyway, right? Now, I know a couple of these Harris Etudes. I don't know them all, but I thought we'd do some of the other ones that I actually know a little bit better to try this out, right? To see if we can get this to work for us. I love number 4. I don't really know 5 as well. It's just sort of scales. Where's the one? I know which one I want to do. I just don't remember which number it is. No. Oh, I think this is it. Yeah, this is it. Okay. So Rodet number 19 is Harris book number 12. And I always start halfway. I don't do the arioso at the beginning because it's a lot of long notes, but we can try it. I also often will play this French Besson with my straight 7. So let me go grab that real quickly. I can still talk to you. The 7, for some reason, is just a better match. It's probably a smaller back bore, and it's certainly, time frame wise, it's certainly the right. It's contemporaneous with the instrument, although it's a Bach mouthpiece and not a Besson mouthpiece, of course. But that doesn't matter so much. It's more about shapes and metal content, and It definitely has a different feel to it. And of course, it's a different rim. That's what the difference is between the 8 and the 7, right? Yeah, well, I'm glad just talking to Josh here, I'm glad that I could accommodate you, and I hope that it helps. I don't know. I've never taught anybody the horse-winny before, really. I've done it a lot of times, but I've never really had to tell anybody else how to do it. So I had to really think, and I practiced before I turned on the stream. Anyway, all right, so this is one of the meanest etudes because it's just all octaves, and that's one of the things that can really wear you out, and so you have to use your strength to contain your production so that you only have one production even though you're doing, and there is still some shifting, but that's kind of the point, right? That you're able to survive the shift and that you're holding your production in place, right? So that it feels basically like, well, like I said, we'll play the arioso a little bit. Oh, so boy. That's the wrong rhythm. What is this rhythm? Let's see. That's an eighth note. That is an eighth note. Oh, I see. It's because it's 6/8 3/4. It's throwing me off. I should be though. Right? I'm hearing some odd noises coming from, it might be the fire truck that I saw earlier, but I'm trying to make sure that it's not feedback through my system here. So anyway, hopefully it's not. Let me know, Josh, since you're there, if I'm getting weird sounds in the stream. All right, so that's a little bit of the arioso. It's beautiful arioso, very physically demanding to play at length, right? Because what you got to do next is this. Oh boy. Oh boy. So you can see it sort of takes it out of me to do it, and I run out of stamina pretty quickly. Especially on this. The 7 is great, a better match for the horn, but it does have a sharper bite to the rim. And so that's why the octaves come out great, but then sometimes I can't get other notes to respond because I'm just not strong enough to play against it, which is why I use the straight 8. Because the straight 8, if you look in the older Bach catalogs, is for people with, quote, weak lips. And I say, that's me, all right? I would be happy to have the weak lip mouthpiece if everything, all else being equal, right? So there are reasons to use the straight 7 if it's a good rim on it, and that one has a really great rim. But anyway, so the octaves part actually is the easiest part because you can hear it, and it's easy to sort of plan for, right? Let's see if I can get into this. It doesn't help if you don't put the valves down. But you can hear that's not hard to get. It's this. That's what's hard. The more florid stuff. That's what we really want to get into, though, right? So, see, those are the hardest ones. See, those are bad on this horn because I can't play C sharps pulled out. But you can hear, like, I'm holding it together, and on this horn, I'm getting punished a little because I'm not doing it well enough that I can keep the color the same. So let's go slower and see if we can get it. And we'll put it back on the big horn, and the color should stay the same even if I screw it up. Right there is where I want to go. Let's see. No, that's not the right one. See what I mean? So keeping it really in the same place, right? It's not about more or less in different places, and it's not about counteracting really the when you go up, you don't have to pull, like, hold in or hold out or anything like that until you get to the real extremes. And the extremes are kind of similar, actually, weirdly, but it's more about just maintaining, and that involves a lot more muscles than just the muscles right behind the rim, right? That's what this is really beneficial about. So, okay, here we go. We've got our modern B flat back out, and this is harder actually on this because it's larger bore. Oh yeah, Brent 6. Yeah, oh, and my dad's here. Harris, yeah, it's the Harris book, as you know. Yeah, Josh, apparently the two people in the chat, or there's three maybe. The two people in the chat are my dad and my former student Josh, and apparently my dad assigned Josh, Brant number 6, in a master class when he borrowed his book. So I guess the day of reckoning is upon us. I don't have my Brant book here. I brought all of them to school, but I do have Brant number 8 if anybody would like to hear that. Yeah, and he even signed it. Oh, that's nice. Okay. Okay, that was a nice, thank you for that rest. All right, so here we go on the modern trumpet, on the straight 8, modern copy. It's a Pickett copy of the straight 8. Let's see here. We'll go with that same spot. That one was down to a little bit of, I changed the pressure. I took a little pressure off to get those low notes to come out, and I felt it, and my top lip couldn't make up for it. And so it just fell right out. But anyway, so you can hear it's working a little bit better. I used to be able to not play any of this stuff because I just couldn't, it just was, right? My whole face had to get involved. I can probably still do that. It was always like that, where random stuff would just, like, I'm strong enough to play that note, but it wouldn't come out. Oh, I know. And it's just because that tightness method of compression doesn't work, and we all do that to some degree. We all like to just give it a little bit of, oh yeah, just a little tightness there, and I'll get it. And no, it's sameness that you'll get it, right? Sameness is how it works. So, because literally that's how it works, right? If it works there, don't move it. But of course you have to play other notes, and so that's what I was talking about at the beginning with really, really getting total control over our air stream, so that the way that we shape it and the way that we blow it is what's really getting us the note. And then we are sort of holding against whatever changes that is. But mostly if we get the shape right, we can just hold in kind of the same way for the normal register, and it'll keep working the same way. It's when we relax that too much, especially outside the rim and behind the rim. When we relax that too much, then it gets pushed around by what note we want to play, and then the octaves start to get really hard, right? If I go, all right, oh boy, that would be awful. I mean, it can still get them, but it feels bad, and it sounds, it sounds like accents, and that's not what it is. So okay, back to this. Let's do it. Okay, let's continue to do it the right way, and we'll move on. Sometimes it's hard for me to get the first note this way, especially if I haven't been doing it because I've been demonstrating something else. It's a little stupid, but most of that came out okay. And when I get tired, you can hear it stops working for me because I'm not strong enough to hold there. So that means I need to build strength in that specific way for that purpose, right? And I can use slow playing and all the normal stuff that I would, where did it really fall apart for me? Here's a good spot. And I don't like playing E's 1 and 2, but sometimes my brain can't handle like the one that is a note change in the octave and the other ones that aren't. So I sometimes am lazy about that. But if I was really to play this, I would probably not do that. Right, that's where right, so I can go slow. Now, of course, you can't do this the same way that you would do chunking in order to get the fingerings, because normally you chunk it one way and you chunk it another way and you chunk it a third way and you chunk it a fourth way. You put two chunks together, then you chunk those, get it all settled, and then you play it all the way through. Well, guess what? When you do strength work, you rest, because doing it again is not going to be better if you ran out of strength the last time, right? So it's a little bit trickier, and you have to gauge that. You have to feel like, yeah, I'm feeling it, but I want to try it again sooner so that I like as soon as I can, because I don't want to forget what I just learned, right? How the coordination of that strength and air, and the way to trust it, right? That's what we're really after. So Josh has a question that I'm definitely going to answer at length. He asked, do you have any favorites from the Harris book? And yes, this is one of them. This is Harris number 12. Like I said, they're all stolen. So this is Rode number 19 in real life. Number 11 is the E major partita, but down, like transposed for B flat trumpet and also transposed down a half step, so that's like an E flat concert. But you can just sharp everything, and then it'll become the E major partita again, right? It's just the Allegro Spirituoso from that. But it's also a great one. That's number 11, like I said. The one that I always loved for my dad to play, and that I just couldn't believe it was possible, and since he's here, maybe I'll try it. Well, so he does, it's easy to start with number 1, right? Because it's the first etude in the book. And he would do number 1 in one breath, and then he'd try to do number 2 in one breath, and usually was successful. And then he'd get to number 3, and usually skip it, even though it's a good etude, because number 4 is right there, and that's Gavinier. I finally found this one, Dad. So number 4 is a really cool one that sort of is, it exploits the same thing we're talking about, but you can get away with a little more with just some jaw motion instead of being strong right here. And in fact, that's probably a better way to play it, because it's really physically difficult. But anyway, number 3 is Rode number 21. It's a good etude. It's like, if you just want to play a nice etude, it's really good. I'll play a little bit of that one. It's still hard. I mean, they're all hard, but but I can't do it. And so on, right? There's something weird about my book there. Huh. It's just it's like somebody marked in a note, but it's like in the printing. That's not in my other book. I can't find my other Harris book. I don't know what. I have 3 Harris books now, and this is the only one I can find. And it's not the one with the pages in the right spots. It's the one where you get page turns, which I don't like. But anyway, that's number 3. It's a really nice, just kind of like tonal etude. Number 4 sounds like string music more. And oh, so right, this is Gavinier Matinee number 7, is what I finally figured this out. And so on, right? It goes on for 2 pages of that. But you can hear, like, that strength helps me do that C to D trill without falling apart. It helps me do the main lick here over and over again. So number 4 is really great to practice. Like I said, number 5 is just kind of, it's okay. If you're not sure about your A minor scale, it's great. But it's kind of just A minor scale a lot. So I haven't really practiced it much, to be honest. I should. It's got some other stuff in, but it's mostly just the diatonic scales. It's just a, it's like that. Number 6 is also really nice. I'll play a little bit of that one. What you should know is that the 3rd note of number 6 is wrong. It is an E, not a D. And that you can tell because when it comes back later, well, first of all, it sounds weird. So you should be on the lookout. But when it comes back later, in the 4th from the bottom line, last measure, That's what it sounds like. And at the beginning, it says D instead. Which sounds okay, but when it comes back, it's not that. And it makes more sense that it would outline the A minor that it is right away, instead of this sort of strange sound, and then not repeat that sound. So one of them is wrong for sure. I think it's the D at the beginning is wrong, but now, that being said, he did excerpt that in the models at the top. So a lot of times he'll tell you to do different articulations with the etude, especially when there's none written. And so he said, you know, it's a lot like the Schlossberg book, where it says like A time do this, B time do this, C time do this, and so on and so forth. And he does play the D, third note D is there, but I think it's just because they excerpted that first. They always do the first measure, right? So I don't think that says anything. I still think it's E, and plus it makes a nice, right, as opposed to, which again is fine, but just not as normal. And these are all very normal because they're from famous string books. I don't actually know where this one is from. If I did, then I would know the right answer to the note. Anyway, here we go. And so on. And that the other, I skipped right by it, but the third measure proves me right. It's an E. So there's number 6. Number 7 is also a great one. Rodet number 22 is what this one is. This is the book. I'm glad that this is the one I didn't lose, because this has the most found real source etudes. So the Rodet is another violin book. Gavinier is another good one, and then a lot of Bach, right? So anyway, this is that was just etude number 6. I don't know what it's from, but this is etude number 7 in the Harris book, which is Rodet number 22. Another good one. I'm just playing little excerpts from these as much as I feel like I can actually play. Right, it's just a nice etude like that. It's got a really nasty, the bottom of this page, I'll play that. This is all on the next page. It's just really mean that to go from fingering for every note, even the hard fingerings, then to go. That cross partial slur is just agonizing. You got to really be strong to do it. Then number 8, I don't have this written down, but I don't need to. It's G minor sonata, Bach, famous, right? And so on. I love to say "and so on" right when I get tired, right? But it's true. I mean, these are hard. My dad, he used to play 6 or 7 of them in a row, and then it's time for dinner. And I never forgot that. I mean, he's on here, so. But you know, I remember watching and going, well, the way I play, that's not possible. So I need to find a better way to play, right? Number 9 is another one that's like, all right. I mean, oh, sorry. it's just never been that interesting to me. It's just scales and arpeggios, and I should learn it because it does seem to get interesting pretty quickly. But my dad loves number 10, and I've never really spent the time to learn it, but it's another wrong note there in the second to last bar, I think. So I've heard it a bunch. I need to really spend time on it, and it's nice. It's much faster than I just played it, and much more accurate than that too. Then, like I said, this one is E major. Number 11 is E major partita allegro spirituoso, and I do like to play it up a half step because I should be able to play an F sharp just as well as I can play an F, right? So we'll do that. I won't play the whole thing, of course, because I'm not playing any of these all the way through. That's right. This is really hard just to transpose it. I haven't looked at it in a long time, but so I'll play some of it down in the normal key that it's written. Like I said, that's the string key. I'll start where I left off. Right, again, it's just all of that partita, or partita and sonata, but it's all of that allegro spirituoso section. We've already done number 12, which I said was Rode number 19. I don't think I've ever looked at 13 or 14. Number 15, I've definitely looked at. Now, it's not to say that those are bad etudes. I don't have an opinion about them because I haven't really spent the time. I'm trying to fill in those gaps. That's actually why I'm doing number 32. I turned to a random page and looked to see if I thought that would serve the purpose that I already talked about on the French Besson, and then I got to work. And I've learned about half of that halfway decent, right? I haven't even looked at the first page. So, anyway, so that's number 13 and 14 too. I don't know about them. One of them looks like a lot of scales. One of them looks like a lot of arpeggios, but they both look like they could be really interesting. So I would definitely look at 14 for sure. Number 15 is Rode number 20, and boy, is it nasty. So I'll play some of this one. I won't play. The grave e sostenuto at the beginning is what really kills you. But then you simply physically can't probably play the other part anyway, so you may as well play the part you can play, right? The problem is it doesn't change tempo. So however, if you play the long notes faster, you got to play the 12 tuplet 30-second notes even faster, right? So you want to go slow. Grave is grave here. See, how fast can I even play? Oh, it's not those ones. It's that kind of stuff, right? So okay. Let's see. Wait, that's. That's really slow. All right, we'll do it. We'll do our best. this fermata. Oops. And thank God for this fermata, because you really need it. All right, we'll do our best on this part. I'm just going to turn this down because I'm sure I'm going to talk as soon as... It does come back like a bad dream, doesn't it? Huh. Oh boy. That's right. That's right. That's what I'm doing wrong. This is the part I can't do. So, you see what I mean? Just stupid stuff. And there's still one passage left, but I'm not gonna. Then number 16, if you liked the octave one, number 12 or whatever I said, the one I played, if you like the octave one back there, it must have been 12, right? Yeah. Then number 16 is a different one. And this one's in a major key, and it's very nice, actually. I'll try. We'll see how long I last after that. Let's see another one. And you can see it gets wild. I can't play all the way through it now without beating myself up too bad, but it's a great one and actually very playable if you can do the octaves, right? That's the only part that's hard, and it doesn't even play high notes like normal. Just up to high C. A lot of them just go up to high C. Number 18 is another one that's like, it looks like a lot of etudes, so I've not really bothered with it. 17, same thing. I mean, it would take a long time to work out, so again, on my list, right, to fill in the gaps. 18, 17. 19, though, is Roday number 17, which we already knew. My dad's favorite, I believe. He can tell me, Fiorello. Which one is Fiorello? Number 16, probably. I'll have to look. Yeah, I don't have the Fiorello book, though. All right, the number 19, though, is great. Rodet number 17, but Harris number 19. I don't know this part very well. I just wanted to get to the part where it changes keys. Yeah, number 16 might be Fiorello. I think this one's the one you always say is your favorite, though, right? Number 17, Rodet 17, which is number 19. Yeah, I need to practice that one, but I always let him play it. Number 20, I have worked on a little bit. It's certainly not one of my favorites yet. So you can tell I worked on it a little bit. I think it might be in the Flow Studies book, actually, because I don't think I worked on it in here. I just recognize it. Another 21, I don't know. 22, I don't really know. Yeah. But number 23 is Rodet number 18. It was really easy to find the Rodets because they look similar, right? So this one, again, maybe not one of my favorites yet, but yeah, I got to look at it a lot more. I just kind of know how it goes, but I haven't worked on it. Number 24, also, I think this one is stolen. I know this one better than I should. It's a Bach. I don't have it written in this book. Maybe the other books. That one's great. That one's fun to practice. I need to look at it. They get harder too. A lot of the time. They don't always get harder, but they generally do. So then I don't know a bunch of these. Like I said, I'm working on 32 now because I just picked it out of the blue, right? And that one, that's the one that we did already, but it starts with a lot of the same stuff. So I could sight read this beginning a little bit. Right, well, I have to look at it because I don't know it. I know the end, but you know I'm working on getting there. Then I don't know any of these. I don't know any of these at all. Some of them I might have marked, but in the style that my dad always used to do. Yeah, see, that's what I thought. 20 was in the Chikowitz book. Yeah, I thought it was. But as he always used to do, he'd say, and now page 99, right? Just, oh. And it is. You never forget some of these etudes. I don't know how many he worked on, maybe a bunch of them, but page 99, number 74, I've never identified the etude. I'm not sure what even, if it is, it looks very much like a string etude, so it probably is, but it might be a more obscure. And I've tried to play this for my lessons in my undergrad, and John Hagstrom told me no, basically. But not because he didn't want me to work on hard things, but because he said, well, look at what it is. where do you breathe? And I said, well, but it's like a string etude. You just breathe wherever you can. He said, but where should you breathe if you were going to play it right? And there's a big fermata on the 5th line. And he said, okay, so you can play it as long as you can make it in one breath all the way to there. And that's how facile you have to be and how efficient. And so I decided to play other stuff for my lessons then. But I'll try to play some of it. I can't play it all in one breath still. So maybe I'm still not ready for that lesson, but I can't really play it, obviously, and I'm not claiming that that was any good, but this is the kind of stuff that really inspired me to work hard on my trumpet playing, because I know that it is possible. He says Vizzuti showed him that one, so this is the story, the old story of sort of my dad and Vizzuti working together and sort of trading places as the trumpet teacher during the summers, and my dad was going back after his UK job and had to study with Alan, and they were already friends, and so he said, what are you going to do for lessons? And he said, well, show me that Harris book that you always are playing out of, that's so, all those hard string etudes. And so that's what they worked on, so he must have showed it to him then. But very cool sort of Eastman summer stories. There's a lot of those. And I mean, for good reason, right? Because there were a lot of really dedicated people over a lot of those summers that also had to teach themselves how to play a lot of the time, and so they helped each other, and then they did really what nobody else was willing to do to try to get better at the trumpet, and had to invent ways to do that, right? So and that's one of the things I talk about a lot on the stream is, you have to do what everybody else is going to do, but you might not have all the same resources they do, so you have to do more in order to just match them. And then not only that, but if you want to win jobs, win auditions, do other things like that, you have to do more than them, right? You have to do things that they're unwilling to do, like singing, like me, my story about jogging around the, jogging around the streets of Chicago, singing the Haydn at the top of my lungs. That was embarrassing, but I did it because it made my time better in the Haydn, and I needed that. So, yeah, exactly. Josh says he has huge lungs. I'd have to work on that and think I'm in that is possible realm. I just need to work on it after my Christmas concert this weekend. Yeah, don't work on it before. But it is actually, it really makes you facile. At the end of the day, right, which is where I am right now, it's actually pretty, it's not a warm down or anything. It's definitely work. But, a lot of it's very low. At that speed, it's really not too terrible, and especially talking about the things that we talked about earlier, right? I bet this would almost be possible on the Besson. Yeah, I can feel myself when I get a little bit pushed out of the slot, and I can bring myself back in on the Besson, and that's, in some ways, it's actually cheating. It reveals a problem that I have, but it doesn't help me build awareness on the other horn. It just helps me build awareness, like, as I'm playing this. So that's one of the hardest things to do with tools like that. With the up sound from Stomvie is a great tool. Cutout, right, mouthpiece buzzing, all those things are great tools, but sometimes the transfer of the things that you learn from those tools to the instruments that you want to play, or the full trumpet or whatever it is, sometimes that's really difficult. So that's the struggle I have now, is like, I'm much better on the French Besson than I am on my regular B flat, but this isn't quite the sound that I'm looking for all the time. That's the wrong way to say it. It's not it's not a modern trumpet sound that I can get away with in ensembles and things, even though I like it very much. And so this horn has that, and I just need to learn to keep myself in line, and that's going to come from a lot more of playing the Besson and just awareness of it, and maybe transferring it through some of those other tools, right? Stomvi upsound being probably chief among them in this case. So anyway, yeah, that's the Harris book. I didn't play any of the first Etudes, I guess, in one breath or otherwise, so I could try that. I haven't looked at these in a long time, so it might be just a disaster, and then my stream will be bad. But I've been on for an hour, so it's allowed to be bad now, right? That was the first one. Not perfect at all, but in one breath I did it. And number 2 is really hard to do in one breath. I'll try to do it in 2 breaths. I think I can handle that and go slow enough for me to actually play most of the notes. While I'm resting for a second, Josh asked what model or year that is that French Besson if I were to try to find one like it. I highly recommend it. The model, they didn't really have, I mean, it's not that they didn't have models, but it was just, this was their sort of top of the line B flat and C, and this particular one had the options of the quick change to A, which most of the B flats had. The C tuning slide was optional, and the in between the low pitch C slide was definitely optional, and so that those were options as opposed to models. They did make models also, but they were more like, here's the cornet that we are like, you can buy a new Besson cornet or a new Besson trumpet, and so the models are kind of like more, they're like the prototype, and then they kind of come into their own, so it's harder to track. But this one, you can look it up. This one has serial number in the 88,000s, and so that is, I believe, there's some conflicting sources, but let's just call it like 1911, right? Easy to remember. And so right around there, it's a little bit later. These were made as early as probably, I can't remember off the top of my head, my dad might, 1890 or maybe even 1885, or maybe it's 1895. But right there, like 10 years before the turn of the century to 10 years after is where this horn lives. And any small bore French Besson C or B flat trumpet is in good shape. This one is even not in the best shape. It's got some problems, and that might contribute to some of its out of tune notes and other things. But if it looks like a modern trumpet, or even if it just sort of has some of the design of a modern trumpet, and it's small bore. This one says that it's large bore on the advertisements, but when you measure it, it's not. So. And most of them were not back then. They weren't the 464 or whatever we have on our modern trumpets. But anyway, let's play this one since you're talking about it. And thanks for the applause. Let's actually empty real water too, because. I think I can maybe go that fast. We'll see. I might get stopped up, but I'll try to do it in 2 breaths. There's 1 rest in it. I'll take a breath there and see if I can make it all the way through. See, I got a little out of center there, but I got it in 2 breaths. It's just so hard not to take a breath in that rest. and you're only a third of the way through the Etude. But anyway, those are the first two. They're really nice, and they're really good to work on because if you can memorize them, then you can really stay right in the heart. Yeah, Landris knows, yeah. Mid-1890s. Yeah, I think it's 1895 is the beginning of these horns, and they're really good. I have mixed feelings. If Landris has it, that means it's never getting out of Landris's shop, but it also means it's going to be in really good condition all the time for the rest of its known life. So maybe he'll let me play it when I'm there next time in New York City. Anyway, okay, well, I'm going to end the stream. I meant for this to be like a 25-minute stream about the horse-winny and a couple of little things, and ended up being a Harris book demonstration, which is always a good thing, but not for my lips. So I'm going to quit while I'm behind, and just thanks for coming. Thanks for watching. I'm glad a couple of people came into the chat, and I am going to ice my lip down with a cold, I don't think I have a beer, but a cold glass of water is probably all I got. All right. Take it easy. Thanks for coming. See you later.